Hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here we talk about all things knitting really. We talk about WIPs, finished projects, yarn, knitting plans, just all things knitting. But before we get into that, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. And today I'm actually wearing two pieces of knitwear. I'm wearing my Camisole No9 and I'm also wearing my Agnete cardigan, and I'm really pleased I have so many, or not many, but that I have some really simple basic cardigans, because I really want to be able to wear my Camisole No9 more. But it's a camisole and it's heading into winter here, so to be able to wear it I have to wear something warm over, and to show it off I'm really pleased I have cardigans. And it definitely makes me want to make more very basic cardigans in white, black, light grey, all of that. So it's really inspiring me to knit up more cardigans. And then also the Agnete, really pleased that I can wear it more now that it's getting a bit colder, and I think the brioche stitch of the Agnete cardigan really suits the plain stockinette of the Camisole No9. The Camisole No9 is made in Drops Baby Merino in the color Vibrant Green, and my Agnete is made in Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk, both in the color Off-White. And this was my January project for myself, the thing that started off the whole make one project for myself a month. And then the Camisole No9 was one of two projects for myself that I finished in August. So now that I'm trying to make my podcast a bit more frequently, I'm not able to finish a ego knit in between every podcast, but that makes me able to showcase of my previous knits and what's in my knitted closet a lot more. So I'm really pleased that that's led to that. This is the first podcast I'm doing, trying to do podcast a bit more frequently, so please let me know in the comments what you think of it. But that's really all for what I'm wearing. The camisole is in the size small and the cardigan is in a medium. But that's really it, and then we can head into my WIPs. I have I think I know how to say I'm no longer a monogamous knitter. This past week has really showed me that I'm no longer a monogamous knitter, because I've been casting on something new almost every day, some days two things. So definitely not a monogamous knitter anymore, but I am quite enjoying it. Here is my most recent cast on, and the first thing I'll show you, this is the Miniaugustins No1, and as you can see I've not gotten super far, but here are some of the details. I think I'm on section 3 maybe I've started on 4. This pattern is in sections, so you complete different kinds of lace and knitting and ribbing while you do increases, because this is a blanket that's knit in the round. As you can see, here is where I've cast on and started, and then I've done increases throughout, and here is where I'm at. I think I stopped at this point because I had to keep a closer eye on the pattern for the next part, and I didn't really have the opportunity to do so. So here is where it's stopped so far. This is a part of the gift. I'm currently gift knitting quite a big gift for 2 twins. That's going to be my nephews. So I'm having a really fun time just knitting up lots of different clothes and accessories, and now blankets for them. I already have one of these blankets, so I'm just making one to match, just in a different color. And I'm knitting it using Drops Puno, 100% alpaca yarn in the color light gray. I have already made one of these blankets, as I said, and I used Drops Puna then too. And I quite like how this blanket turns out using 100% alpaca. I know some people don't like to use such a hairy kind of yarn. As you can see, it has a bit of halo. I know some people don't like to use that for small babies or children, but I used a lot of alpaca for my son, and I really liked it. So I have decided to knit using it. I also think alpaca is one of the warmest yarns there is, so this is going to be a very warm blanket, even though it has holes in it. But I have just barely started. I cast this on today, kind of right before filming, so I've just knit away a little bit on it, and then hopefully I'll have the time to look a bit closer at the pattern so I can move on to the next step. But I'll just have to find a time where I can sit and look at the pattern for a little bit. But that is the start of this super cute little blanket. I can show a picture of the blanket finished so you get the idea, because that's quite hard to tell from this little bit. And then I also have two others, but I'll probably show them together because they are the same pattern, just at different stages. So I can show this first. Here is also just the very beginning of something. This is going to be the Ankers blouse. I've just done 2 of this ribbing segments with increases in between. I cast this on. I was originally going to wait till I had finished the other Anker blouse I'm going to show next, but when I met some struggles with this and having to look at the pattern for this, I really wanted to cast on something I didn't need a pattern for, and the first two ribbing segments of this I didn't need the pattern for, so I just cast this on to knit these 2 segments because I had some knitting time, but I didn't have the time to look at patterns. So I wanted to really maximize my time spent knitting, and that's led to me casting on this. But I had to cast it on quite a long circular needle because this was the only needle I had in the size 3mm, because this is knit on 3mm. So now I'm supposed to start working in the round, and that's going to be quite hard with such a long needle. I know I could probably do magic loop, but I hate magic loop. I have tried to understand the hype, I have tried to do it, I've thought maybe I'm just not good at it, and that's probably still true. I probably am not very good at it because I never do it, but I can't understand the hype. I don't like working in magic loop, so I'm just going to wait for one of my 3mm needles in 40cm to be free, and that means that this will have to wait for that. But here is my little beginning. This was also cast on today, and this is knit in Drops Baby Merino, but I'm not sure of the color because this is yarn I got for my friend. It's scrap yarn from one of her baby projects, and she knows I'm knitting up a lot of baby projects, so I got her scrap yarn. But I'll put the name of the color on screen. And then here is the Ankers blouse. Here you can see more what it's going to look like. All of these ribbing segments down the yoke, and then a few raglan increases before you separate for the sleeves. And then I've done, I think, maybe 2.5 centimeters after splitting and separating the arms, and then my first skein ran out, so now this project is paused because I think I want to do the sleeves before starting and working the rest of the body, just because then when I'm finished with the body I don't have to go back and do the sleeves. So this is why this has not been done any further, because I have to look at the pattern for the sleeves a bit in the beginning to see how many times I'm going to decrease and the rate of decreases and everything. So that led to me having a cast on party really. But here is basically what this is going to look like, just with long sleeves and a longer body. Both of these Anker blouses is knit up in the size 3 to 6 months. And I think I'm just going to have just enough yarn for it. I did originally want to do the Ankers onesie, I think it's called, but I don't think I have enough yarn for that, so I'm going to settle for the Ankers blouse. But just look at this really lovely color. I don't know the color of the color name of this either, but I think it might be called something like ice blue or something. That's at least what it reminds me of. I'm going to also put the name of this on the screen. But yeah, this is my main project from all these small projects, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do the sleeves either today or tomorrow, and then finish the body to free up this 3mm needle so I can continue on the other one, and then I'm going to do the blanket a little bit in between. But those are my 3 kind of smaller projects, my 3 baby projects, because I'm trying to get as many baby projects out of the way as possible, because baby projects have a really strict deadline. They have a deadline at the due date, so just chugging along on those to get those out of the way and finish them. And I talked about that in the last podcast, that I was going to cast on the Moby sweater, and I cast on the Moby sweater the same day that podcast came out, and as you can see, here it is. I have gotten quite far this past week. It's been a week since the last podcast, so I think I've gotten a lot of progress done. I've done the back part, I've done the front, and then I have combined in the round and knit quite a few centimeters as well. I think I have a video of me trying it on I can put here so you get the idea. I've also done the neckline because I think it's way easier to try it on and kind of see how it fits when you get the neck on. And another thing I think makes it easier to kind of see how you feel about it is to get the sleeves on. It's way easier to kind of see what length you want it to be, how it's fitting you, everything once you get the arms on sleeves. So my plan is now, when I've knit on up the first skein, whichever ones of these gets knit up the first, I'm going to then start knitting the arms so I can get those done before continuing on the body. Same thing here as with the Ankers blouse. I want to, when I'm done with the body, I want to be done so I don't have to go back and do the sleeves afterwards. So that's my plan. Hopefully I will get through one of these skeins today so I can start a bit on the sleeves. This is my main project, so I'm trying to use as much of my knitting time as possible on this project, but this, not this past week, this has gotten the most attention this past week, but the last maybe 1 or 2 days, the baby project has definitely gotten the most attention. So now I think it's time that this one gets more attention again. So I will hopefully be working a lot more on this, but I think it's currently looking super nice. And I was very worried about this crisscross pattern on the back and front because it's not something I love. but it has been going surprisingly well. It's just until like a day or two ago, this pattern almost knit itself up. It just flew off my needles. I almost wanted to stop knitting on it because it's quite a fun knit. I was very afraid this was going to be a very difficult knit, but it's just super fun, so I want to be able to knit on it kind of for a while. So I was a bit afraid, or not afraid, but it flew off my needles really, both the front and the back, just a day each really. So I'm kind of pleased. It's going a bit slower now, so I can really like appreciate this project and look at it, because I think it's looking really amazing, and I really like the little bit of halo that it has, and this double moss stitch pattern I really enjoy. Also the cables and the crisscross in the middle. I think all of it is just super fun to knit, and it's also looking really good together, and I'm super pleased that I chose to knit this in white, although sometimes when I'm knitting near my son, I'm a bit like, why did I choose to knit this in white? I'm never going to be able to wear it, because having a toddler around is quite messy, and I don't want any mess to get on my white sweater, especially one as structured as this, because I don't want to knit it twice, even though it's a fun knit, because it's a lot of work. But I think this is just going to be reserved for kind of special occasions, and maybe occasions where my son isn't getting as messy. But yeah, I did try it on, as I mentioned, and it is quite figure hugging at the moment, but the yarn I'm using, Drops Charisma and Drops Kid Silk together, I think they are quite stiff before washing, so I think after washing a lot is going to be done, and then I'm also going to block it, of course, and then I think it won't be as figure hugging, because I don't want this to be like super tight. But as you can see now, it's just the same size as my body really, but I want it to be more oversized, but I think that's going to happen once I wash and block it. Yeah, I'm super excited to be wearing this, and I want to also make one for my son, but my plan was to make him one in white, and I'm a bit unsure about that. Maybe I'll have to wait a couple of years to do that, but first I'm going to finish my Moby sweater and see how I feel about it then. I am almost a bit scared I'm not going to have enough Drops Charisma to finish mine, because Drops Charisma is running through very quickly. I think this is my third skein of mohair maybe, and it's my 7th skein of Drops Charisma, 8 maybe. So it's I'm changing skeins of Drops Charisma quite rapidly, so I'm a bit afraid I won't have enough. I can't remember off the top of my head how many skeins of Drops Charisma I have, but that's also a part of the reason why I want to do the sleeves first, so I know I have enough yarn to do them, and then the body will just be as long as I have yarn for. But I don't know, my torso is not that long anyway, and I don't want it going like past my hips. I wanted to maybe stop here, but I also know that the length decreases when you block it out and the width increases, so quite hard to tell how long I will have to knit this. So I think knitting the sleeves and just getting that done will be of a lot of help. So this is currently how far I am with this, and then maybe even next time I podcast it will be done. I think that depends on how much baby knits I do, but at least I think the sleeves will be done by then. I hope so, so I can show it a bit better. but I'm very pleased with how it's looking so far. And if you are on the fence about knitting the Moby sweater, like I was, I waited for so long to cast it on. It's not as hard as it looks. You just have to not overthink, kind of turn off your brain and just follow what's in the pattern, because you think too much about it, you're going to overthink and think you're doing something wrong. I have already done that a couple times when knitting the front panel. But just turn your brain off and do what the pattern says, and don't read the next step really till you get there, and it will just fly by. And it's written beautifully. Of course, it's Petiteknit, so it's quite easy to understand. But that is all for the Moby really. It's just been a beautiful project to work on so far. Then we can move into finished projects, and then I have to grab my trusted knitting journal just to see. And I think the first project I finished after the last podcast, I finished day of, or maybe the next day of filming that podcast, and that was the zipper sweater man I've been knitting up for my father. This is knit in drops Nepal in the color orange. It's quite large, so it's quite hard to show on camera, but this is, as I said, the zipper sweater man. It's knit in the size medium, but I've knit the body and the arms longer because my father wanted a longer version than the pattern calls for. He tried on my fiance's zipper sweater and wanted a longer one. So that's what he got. I ended up using 14.5 skeins of this, so just 20 grams more I think than my fiance. So knitting it longer didn't really affect how many skeins I needed. But yeah, this was finished quite soon after the podcast, because when I filmed the last podcast, I think I just had to do like this much on the body, and then of course the ribbing and the Italian cast off. So that went by quite quickly, just knitting around in stockinette, which such large needles and chunky yarn goes by quite quickly, and then the ribbing as well. And then it's also been washed and blocked since last time, and I really like Drops Nepal once it's been washed and blocked, because I think the stitches end up looking really nice and even, and I really like how the Italian bind off ends up looking with kind of this a bit chunkier yarn than I'm used to. I think it gets a lot more defined than it does with, for example, Drops Baby Merino. Like here is also Italian, but this is Italian cast on, and I just think it looks more defined with a bit chunkier yarn. So I really enjoy doing Italian bind off, the chunkier the yarn is really. I also really like the cuff on this, and I'm super pleased with the zipper. It zips up very easily, and I think it also looks good close. I don't think it looks really that uneven. And this was also the zipper that kind of cured my fear of knitting the zipper sweater, because I was able, or I decided to sew in the zipper before doing the body and the sleeves. I decided to just do the zipper as soon as possible when I've just done a couple of centimeters on the body, and that is the best choice I've ever made, to just get it out of the way. And I also think, because I didn't worry about sewing in the zipper that much, I think that made the sewing in a lot easier, and also the product a lot better. This is also the first time knitting the zipper sweater that I've used split splicing, the felting of the ends together throughout the sweater. It's the first time I've done that because the last time I knit a zipper sweater I didn't know about that way of kind of weaving in ends. And I must say, weaving in the ends for this zipper sweater was amazing. I think it was maybe 5 ends to weave in, because I also weave in the ends immediately when doing the Italian bind off, so I didn't have to think about those. I just had to weave in ends under each arm and the cast on end, and then the ends for this inner detailing here where you knit to kind of hide the zipper. I had to also weave in there, but I think that's it. So it was 5 or 6 places to weave in the ends, and usually it's like 20 or more, because it's maybe 40, because it's each time you start a new skein and each time one skein ends, so each skein is 2 places to weave in an end, and if I used approximately 15 skeins for this, that would be just 30 ends for that, and then add on those 5 I had to do now, that's almost 40. So really pleased I learned of split splicing, because it's really helped me actually just sit down and weave in the few ends I have to. So never going to stop doing that. And for the items I've done it with so far, it's also really strong, a really strong merging of the yarn, so it doesn't unravel. So I'm super pleased I learned of that way of changing skeins. My mother's friend actually told me, so super grateful she did that, so I don't have to weave in any more ends than needed. But that is my father's zipper sweater all done. So it's gotten a bit wrinkly since I finished and washed it. It's just been balled up really, but I'm going to try to kind of flatten that out some way, and then I'm going to pack it up and wait until his birthday. His birthday is in about a month, so pleased I got this finished in good time as well, so I didn't have to stress through this project. But yeah, it's just going to be packed up, and then I'm going to wait till his birthday, and I really hope he is happy with this gift, because if you watched me before, I really love this color, and I'm really pleased with how the sweater turned out and everything. So if he's not pleased, I'm going to steal it back. So, but I think he's going to be pleased. He did choose the color himself, very wisely, I must say. So I think he is going to be pleased. And then my last 2 finished project since last time is 2 of the same. I did show these in that podcast, but then I had just started on this one and just done the body on this one. But now they are both done. These are the Olive's Thights by Knitting for Olive, and I've decided to do them without the feet. I've just done a ribbed edge on them, because I think you can get a bit more use out of these tights when they are without feet. They are easier to use then, and these are going to be paired with the Olive's wrap that I showed in the last podcast, because that's when that was finished. These are in the size 1 to 3 months, and this is Knit in Drops Baby Merino in Petrol, and this is Knit in Drops Baby Merino in Sage Green. I used 65 grams for each of them, so a skein and a little bit. And yeah, these, just knit them really basic. I don't know, there's not a lot more to say. I finished this one the 1st of the month, and then I started working on this one a bit more, and then it finished up quite quickly. I I have quite a few baby knits to do. I'll show you here. This is my list of baby knits for those twins, and as you can see, the boxes are being checked off, but I still have a lot of boxes to go to check off. So I wanted to buy myself some good conscience to work on my Moby sweater, so I felt like I had to finish this. So I sat awake for almost a whole night just working on these legs, and that's kind of been a trend these last couple days, that I want to have like a good conscience to just work on my kind of selfish knit. So with this one as well, I stayed up like until 4 AM to just finish the skein and work on this. So but I think now with all the progress that's been made, that I have made a lot of progress this last week with all the baby knits. So I am going to knit on my ego knit with a clear conscience. Today it also snowed for the first time this season. I think this snow is probably going to melt, but as I'm looking out my window right now, it's white, the roofs are covered, the ground is covered, there's snow all around, and I can show a clip of what I woke to in the morning. I was not ready for it to be snowing already. I wanted a bit more of fall before heading into winter, but we are definitely heading into winter very rapidly. So I'm kind of thinking a lot more about winter knits for me, for my son, along with knitting all of the baby knits I have to do. So I really want my Moby sweater for winter. I think it's going to be very warm and cozy and nice to wear during the winter. I also like the combination of a white sweater with all of the snow. So I'm hoping to work more on that now that I have done so much baby knits lately. But I have made a list just to kind of make it a bit easier for myself, because I often feel when I knit that it's without any rhyme or reason, kind of. So I've now made a list with projects and what order to do them in, so I can just follow it blindly. But I see that since making this list, I've already made things out of order, but this is at least some sort of order. As you can see, I've only got one check, and all of these I would like for all of them to be done by end of year at least, but some of these, a lot of them actually, should be done this month and should be done before we get really cold weather. My son needs a lot more socks and mittens probably, and maybe some types of hats, and he needs more pants. And I would like some socks. I still have the yarn for my penny socks that I bought like the month after my son was born, and I've not done anything about it really. I think it's here. I have Drops Nord, and this is the yarn that's been in my stash for the longest. I have 3 skeins ready to go to knit up penny socks for myself, but I've just never gotten to it. But I would really like to have the penny socks. I think they are beautiful. I just think it looks like they're a lot of work, but I do really want socks for myself now that we're heading into winter. But I think Sunday socks are more likely, because those are on 4mm instead of 2.5, so it goes by a lot quicker. But then I have to get some yarn with a bit of, what's it called, that makes it strong enough to be used as stocks. Polyamide is in this at least, because I made Sunday socks in Lima, and I wore through them quite quickly, so I want to find a yarn that will wear better. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, socks is going to be quite high on my priority now that I see we are getting snow. Even though this will probably melt, it's quite a clear sign that we are heading into winter, so I need to knit up all of the warm things. But with that said, I think we can move into yarn acquisition. Oh, that word is so hard, but yarn I've bought or will be buying. I don't have it to show now, but today I think I'm going to have it delivered. That's what the tracking says, that it will probably be delivered today, and that is drops Daisy and some drops Merino Extra Fine. I didn't listen to you guys in the comments last time, and I ordered myself some drops Daisy. I ordered enough to make a zipper sweater light for myself, and probably a bit more than that. I did end up buying 1 kilo 20 skeins, so I'm super excited to get that, even though I probably won't have time to cast on just yet because I'm working on my Moby sweater and I'm only working on one ego knit at a time, and I have quite a lot of baby knits to do, so it will have to wait, but then at least I can look at it while waiting. But the Merino Extra Fine I'm going to be using both for baby knits, and then my son is also going to get a pair of pants. He's going to get the Williams overalls in his size now, because the one he has been using is too small, and he really needs to get a couple of pair of pants. So excited about getting that today, and hopefully I will be starting the Williams overalls for my son this week, because yeah, he needs pants. And then also I'm going to just grab it quickly. As if I didn't have enough plans, as I've shown and talked about, I've also said yes to knit up something for someone else. So I've received yarn from them, and I'm going to turn this into a Sunday suit and a Monday suit, I think in the sizes 2 to 4 months or 4 to 6 months, I think. So 1 Monday suit and 1 Sunday suit, and they sent me the yarn. And then I'm also going to knit up a Selmas Sleepsuit in the size 3 to 6 months, and they didn't have the yarn for that in their stash, so I'm going to buy that, and then they'll reimburse me because I'm knitting it for them. So I'm probably going to get that yarn today as well. So my plan of kind of clearing out my stash a little bit, at least, I would my goal this whole year has kind of been to end the year with under 10 kilos in my stash, and I think at this moment I'm at 15 kilos and a bit. And then I'm going to buy yarn for the Selma Sleepsuit, and I'm receiving like 1.5 kilos of yarn as well, so it's definitely not heading in the right direction, but it's all yarn I would really like to work with, and yeah, I just couldn't say no to the offer they had when selling Daisy for the first time. And then also working with free yarn, as I see this as, I also could not say no to. This is, I think this is either Sunday or Tune Merino Ull from Selmas. This is from their fabric sale, yarn that has a few problems, so they don't sell it at full price. So that's what I'm going to be making the Sunday suit in. And then here is Sandnesgarn Sunday, and that's what I'm going to be making the Monday suit in. I think there's a few more skeins than needed here too, actually, but since I'm knitting this as an order, this also has to take priority. So when I finish these baby knits, this is what I'm going to be casting on for, because I do really feel like this needs to be done within October, because it's also for a baby that has been born and in specific sizes. So I have to be sure I'm finished knitting them and have sent them and they've received them before it's too small. So I'm going to start knitting with this hopefully within this week, when I've finished the sweaters I'm already working on and everything. But as you can tell, there are a lot of plans, and this last week there has also actually been quite a lot of knitting time, so I'm excited to see how far I get on my list. And I really like writing lists as well, because then I can cross them out when I'm done. So I am looking forward to kind of crossing out all of the things when I'm done with them, and hopefully in between all of these other plans I will also have time to work on my Moby sweater, because it's my, first of all, I really want to knit on it and I want to wear it, and I want a warm sweater now that we're heading into winter. And it's also the one project for myself in October, and I would like to finish one project for myself for this whole year to see just if I can do it. And I think it's also really nice, since I knit so much, to also be able to wear some of it myself. But I think now heading into Christmas season and knitting up Christmas gifts, as well as all of these baby gifts, and I have a couple of friends that are having babies early next year as well, I think maybe the project for myself some of these months has to be like a beanie or some socks, because a whole sweater on top of all that is a lot. But yeah, please tell me about some of your guys' knitting plans in the comments, and please leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe. Bye!